Imagine for a moment that someone who once left you, someone who chose distance over intimacy, comes back into your life. Your first impulse might be to chase, to explain, to plead for a second chance. But let me tell you something vital. Your energy, your heart, and your soul are sacred. They are not playgrounds for someone who runs when things get real. When an avoidant returns, it's not about them. It's about you. This is a divine moment of clarity. It's an opportunity to rise above the patterns that no longer serve you. You are not here to be their emotional safety net. You are not here to fill a void that they refuse to acknowledge. You are here to honor your own journey, to respect your own evolution. Take a deep breath and anchor yourself in the truth of your worth. Your love is not a currency to be borrowed and returned at convenience. You are whole, even if they return with promises or excuses. Their arrival is not a validation of your value. It is a reflection of their timing, their fear, their incompleteness, and it is your sacred duty to respond from power, not from desperation. Set your boundaries with precision. Speak with clarity. Let your words carry the weight of someone who knows what they deserve. You do not need to justify your distance. You do not need to explain why you have grown. A simple, firm, and compassionate rejection communicates more strength than any argument could. It says, I honor myself, and I will no longer step backward for someone who stepped away. Resist. The pull of old habits. The longing to reconnect is not weakness. It's your humanity. But your humanity is stronger when it chooses wisdom over impulse. Do not be seduced by charm or guilt. Your life is not a waiting room for someone who could not stay. Every moment spent reclaiming your energy is a declaration of self-respect, a sacred ritual of empowerment. Keep your focus on yourself. Let your growth, your healing, and your purpose illuminate the path ahead. Do not allow their return to reroute your journey. Your attention is too valuable, your dreams too sacred, your soul too magnificent to be distracted by someone unwilling to meet you in the fullness of your presence. And finally, see this moment for what it truly is, a lesson wrapped in experience. Let it teach you what you will no longer tolerate. Let it show you the boundaries you are willing to uphold. Let it remind you that your love is not given to those who run from it, but to those who meet it with courage, integrity, and consistency. When you reject them, do it with grace. Do it with power. Do it in a way that your spirit feels elevated, not diminished. Because in this act, you are not closing a door. You are opening yourself to a life that honors your worth, respects your time, and celebrates your divine presence. And that, my friend, is the ultimate victory. Recognizing your worth is the first step in reclaiming your power when someone who left comes back into your life. Too often, we allow the actions of others to define how we see ourselves, forgetting that our value is inherent and unwavering. When an avoidant person leaves, it can leave a mark, a sense of incompleteness or self-doubt. But the truth is this: your worth was never tied to their presence or approval. It is not something that can be borrowed, given, or taken away. It exists independent of anyone else's choices. The universe created you with intrinsic value, a unique set of experiences, strengths, and divine qualities that no one else sees and replicate. To forget this is to diminish the power of your own existence. And to allow someone else's fear of closeness to shape your self-perception is a betrayal to your own spirit. Understanding your worth begins with awareness. It requires looking inward, beyond the pain of rejection, and seeing the layers of your being that remain untouchable and complete. Your heart, your mind, and your soul have a depth that cannot be measured by someone else's willingness to stay. When an avoidant comes back, they often carry a sense of urgency or charm designed to tempt you into forgetting what you have learned, to make you question if you are overreacting or if you are being too rigid. But recognizing your worth is seeing through these manipulations, not with anger or resentment, but with certainty. It is knowing that no amount of apologies, excuses, or fleeting affection can elevate your value because your value has always been absolute. Part of this recognition is understanding that your emotions, needs, and boundaries are valid. If someone left, it was their choice, not a reflection of your inadequacy. You are not lacking for their love, nor do you require their validation. To feel complete, this truth becomes a shield, allowing you to face their return without panic, without pleading, and without compromise of your dignity. When you internalize this, the power shifts from them back to you. You are no longer at the mercy of their timing or whims. Instead, you operate from a place of self-respect, clarity, and sovereignty over your own life, recognizing your worth. So means acknowledging the lessons learned from past experiences. Every time someone chose distance over intimacy, your awareness expanded, your boundaries sharpened, and your understanding of what you truly deserve became clearer. Your worth is intertwined with your growth, and growth often requires moments of solitude and self-reflection. By honoring your journey, you reinforce the fact that you are not here to settle for half-hearted love or temporary attention. Your worth demands consistency, respect, and depth, qualities that cannot be forced or negotiated. Finally, recognizing your worth is about embodying it in every action and decision. It is not just a thought, but a lifestyle. When you respond to someone's return, your recognition of your value should be evident in the way you speak. The boundaries you uphold, and the confidence with which you move forward. There is a sacred strength in saying no to what does not serve your highest good, and in choosing yourself over someone who once left. This is not cruelty or vengeance, it is wisdom. It is a divine principle to honor the value within you and never allow another's indecision to diminish your light. In this recognition, freedom. Freedom from the pull of old patterns, freedom from emotional manipulation, and freedom from self-doubt. Recognizing your worth is the foundation of responding correctly, rejecting with grace, and moving forward in a way that elevates your life rather than repeating the past. It is the quiet, unshakable truth that no one who left can take from you, and no one who returns can redefine. When you truly see your worth, the world aligns with your dignity, and every choice you make becomes a reflection of the love and respect you have for yourself. Staying grounded in emotional awareness is one of the most powerful tools you can wield when an avoidant comes back into your life. Often, these situations trigger old wounds, insecurities, and a flood of emotions that can make even the strongest person feel unsteady. It's natural to feel a mixture of hope, anger, longing, and confusion, but the key is not to suppress these emotions nor let them dictate your actions. Emotional awareness is about recognizing your feelings, naming them, understanding their origins, and allowing them to exist without losing your center. When you are grounded, you do not react impulsively to someone else. Patterns. You respond from a place of clarity, power, and self-respect. An avoidance return can ignite a storm within because their presence often taps into past abandonment or neglect. You may feel a rush of excitement at the possibility of connection or a deep-seated fear of being hurt again. These emotions are valid, but they are also signals, not directives. Being emotionally aware means observing your internal state as though from a distance. It is asking yourself, why am I feeling this? Is this feeling about them, or is it about the old wounds they are touching? When you can differentiate between present reality and past programming, you regain control. You stop being a passive participant in a cycle that has historically caused pain and start becoming an active creator of why. Our emotional landscape. Grounding yourself also means identifying your triggers and understanding the stories your mind tends to tell in response. When an avoidant reappears, there may be an instinctive narrative, maybe they've changed, perhaps this is my last chance, or I'll never feel this way again. These thoughts often carry a subtle energy of urgency and fear, which is exactly what rely on to draw you in. Emotional awareness allows you to notice these stories without automatically believing them. You can acknowledge, yes, I feel longing, but that does not mean I need to act on it. This separation between feeling and action is the foundation of true emotional power. Another crucial element of emotional awareness is the ability to sit with discomfort. Often, the temptation is to seek resolution immediately, to text, to explain, to convince them to stay. But emotional awareness teaches patience. It teaches that discomfort is not a problem to solve, it is a signal to be respected and examined. Sitting with your feelings without acting impulsively allows insight to emerge. You may notice patterns you hadn't seen before, recognize behaviors you will no longer tolerate, or simply reaffirm your commitment to yourself. The moment you embrace the discomfort as part of your process, you transform it from a source of weakness into a source of wisdom. Grounded emotional worrying. SS also fosters compassion, both for yourself and for the other person. You can see the avoidance, return for what it is, a reflection of their own fear and limitations, rather than a personal judgment on your worth. At the same time, you honor your feelings, giving yourself permission to feel hurt, frustrated, or sad without shame. This balance between compassion and firmness is what allows you to respond with integrity rather than reactivity. Finally, emotional awareness empowers your decision-making. When you are fully present with your feelings, you can respond with intention rather than impulse. Your actions will reflect your values, your boundaries, and your self-respect. You will speak with clarity, set limits with confidence, and make choices that elevate your life instead of repeat. Old cycles. Grounding yourself emotionally is not just a defensive tactic, it is a proactive commitment to your growth, freedom, and inner peace. In the end, staying grounded in emotional awareness transforms the way you engage with someone who returns after leaving. It shifts the focus from fear and longing to wisdom and presence. It turns potential chaos into clarity, reaction into choice, and old patterns into new lessons. This awareness is the anchor that allows you to reject with grace, to stand firm in your power, and to honor the sacred value of your heart and your life. Setting clear boundaries is not just a strategy, it is a declaration of self-respect, an act of self-love, and a recognition of your sacred worth. When an avoidant returns, the temptation to blur limits, to soft rules, or to excuse past behavior can be strong. You may feel drawn to give them a second chance, justify their actions, or hope that time has changed them. But true empowerment begins with clear boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define who you are, what you will accept, and what you will not. They are not walls built from fear, but gates built from clarity, wisdom, and integrity. Thank you without them. You risk repeating old patterns, losing your sense of self, and allowing someone else's choices to dictate your emotional reality. The first step in setting boundaries is understanding your own needs and non-negotiables. Ask yourself, what behaviors will I no longer tolerate? What treatment is unacceptable? What compromises would harm my sense of dignity when an avoidant return? They often test limits, whether through excuses, charm, or emotional manipulation. They may attempt to guilt you, pressure you, or rekindle old attachments. Without clear boundaries, it is easy to succumb to these tactics. By defining your standards in advance, you create a framework that keeps you centered and prevents emotional confusion. Boundaries are your armor against the uncertainty and inconsistency that have caused pain in the past. Setting boundaries also requires firmness and consistency. It is not enough to declare limits in your mind. They must be expressed through your actions and communication. This does not mean hostility or cruelty. It means clarity and calm authority. A boundary is not negotiable because it is a reflection of your value, not a tool to punish or control. For example, if you decide that you will not engage in a relationship with someone who previously abandoned you, that is your right. You communicate it with compassion, not defensiveness, and you maintain it regardless of their persuasion or emotional appeals. This consistency is what teaches others how to treat you and reinforces your own self-respect. Boundaries are also about protecting your energy. When someone who once hurt you returns, their presence can drain your emotional and mental resources if you are not careful. Setting limits on contact, conversation, or emotional involvement ensures that you are not pulled back into chaos or confusion. It is a sacred act of preservation. The more intentional you are about where and how you allow their influence in your life, the more power you reclaim over your own emotional landscape. Boundaries turn the unpredictable behavior of an avoidant into something you can navigate without losing yourself. Another essential aspect of boundaries is recognizing their spiritual and psychological dimension. Boundaries are not arbitrary. They are reflections of your alignment with your purpose, values, and self-worth. By enforcing them, you honor a divine principle that your life and your heart are not for misuse. Every no you assert is a statement of self-sovereignty, a refusal to accept what diminishes you, and a choice to invest your energy in what truly nourishes you. When an avoidant tries to re-enter your life, boundaries help you see the situation with clarity, rather than being swept away by old patterns, guilt, or nostalgia. Finally, boundaries allow for growth, healing, and transformation. By clearly defining what you will and will not accept, you cultivate a space for self-discovery and empowerment. You learn to trust your instincts, honor your feelings, and prioritize your highest good. Boundaries create freedom, not restriction. They liberate you from repeating cycles of disappointment and heartache. When you respond to an avoidance return with firm boundaries, you are not rejecting them out of spite. You are protecting your energy, respecting your journey, and creating a life that reflects the highest version of yourself. In the end, clear boundaries are the cornerstone of your power. They are the silent, unwavering force that allows you to reject without regret, to love yourself without compromise, and to stand firm in your value. They transform vulnerability into strength and uncertainty into clarity, ensuring that your heart is no longer a playground for someone unwilling to meet you in truth and integrity. When an avoidant comes back into your life, the first instinct is often to reconnect, to bridge the gap, or to recapture what was once familiar. This impulse is natural after all. Human hearts are wired for attachment, and the longing for closure or reconciliation can feel urgent and overwhelming. Yet, responding immediately, acting on that instinct, or allowing emotions to dictate your actions is one of the most common ways people undermine their own power. Resisting the urge to reconnect quickly is not about holding grudges or denying your feelings. It is about reclaiming control, honoring your worth, and ensuring that your actions are guided by wisdom rather than impulse. Understanding the nature of this urge is the first step. When someone who left returns, your mind can trick you into believing that instant connection is necessary, that any hesitation might cost you a chance at reconciliation. You may replay old memories, fantasize about what could have been, or feel a sense of urgency that clouds judgment. This is not a reflection of your value or worthiness. It is simply the brain responding to emotional triggers, drawing you toward what is familiar, even if it once caused pain. Recognizing this as a psychological and emotional pull, rather than a mandate, gives you the space to step back and make choices aligned with your long-term well-being. Resisting immediate reconnection allows you to observe the situation with clarity. Avoidant as often return with their own motives, which may have little to do with your needs or growth. They may seek comfort, validation, or a temporary emotional fix. If you respond quickly, you risk re-entering patterns where your heart is vulnerable, your boundaries are compromised, and your dignity is challenged. By creating distance, even briefly, you give yourself the opportunity to assess their intentions objectively. You gain perspective on whether their return aligns with respect, consistency, and authenticity, or whether it is merely a reflection of their fear, loneliness, or convenience. Patience in this process is a form of self-respect. Choosing not to act immediately is an affirmation that your energy, time, and emotions are precious. It signals to yourself and to the other person each. You will not be swayed by charm, guilt, or emotional urgency. This restraint is a demonstration of power, the power to prioritize your own healing over someone else's temporary comfort. Every moment you wait intentionally reinforces the truth that you are not desperate for connection. You are discerning, grounded, and aligned with what truly serves your growth. Resisting the urge to reconnect also creates a natural filter for sincerity. Those who return with genuine intent will respect your pace, honor your boundaries, and demonstrate through consistent behavior that their presence is meaningful. Those who are not ready or unwilling to meet you on this level will reveal themselves through impatience, manipulation, or inconsistency. By resisting the pull. To dive back in, you allow truth to surface naturally without forcing clarity through confrontation or emotional compromise. Moreover, this pause provides a sacred space for self-reflection. You can examine your own motives, patterns, and readiness. Are you tempted to reconnect because of loneliness, nostalgia, or fear of missing out? Or is it a choice rooted in wisdom, discernment, and genuine alignment with your values? By checking in with yourself in this way, you cultivate emotional maturity and spiritual clarity. You transform a moment that could be reactive into a moment that is conscious, deliberate, and empowering. Ultimately, resisting the urge to reconnect quickly is a profound act of self-love. It is a declaration that your heart is not available on demand, that your trust be earned, and that your peace cannot be sacrificed for fleeting familiarity. It ensures that any decision you make, whether to engage or not, is informed by integrity, clarity, and respect for your own journey. In this restraint lies freedom from repeating past mistakes, freedom from unnecessary pain, and freedom to step fully into a life that honors your worth. When an avoidant comes into your life, the way you respond sets the tone for everything that follows. The choice is simple, yet profound. You can respond from a place of desperation, pleading for validation or reconciliation, or you can respond with power, grounded in self-respect, clarity, and wisdom. Responding with power is not about arrogance or cruelty. It is about embodying the understanding that your energy, our heart, and your life are sacred, and they are not for negotiation with someone who once walked away. This approach transforms a potentially chaotic emotional situation into a moment of sovereignty and inner strength. Desperation often emerges as a reflex. It can appear as anxiety, frantic attempts to reconnect, over-explaining, or offering yourself as if your worth depends on their approval. While these reactions are human and understandable, they come at a cost. Desperation diminishes your presence, blurs your boundaries, and communicates a lack of self-worth. It signals that your value is contingent upon someone else's behavior, and it opens the door for repetition of old patterns where you are left vulnerable and your dignity compromised. The avoidant, skilled in emotional distance, may unconsciously or consciously exploit this neediness, keeping you trapped in cycles of longing and confusion. Recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Responding with power, on the other hand, requires a calm, measured approach. It starts with awareness, understanding your emotions, acknowledging your pain, and then choosing to act in alignment with your highest princ. Pulls rather than your impulses. Power is quiet, deliberate, and self-assured. It is expressed not through yelling or harsh words, but through composed, intentional communication that leaves no room for manipulation or confusion. A powerful response does not justify, explain excessively, or attempt to change the other person. It states your truth, asserts your boundaries, and communicates your vow without apology. This kind of response reflects the understanding that you are whole, complete, and worthy of respect, regardless of their return. Another key element of responding with power is maintaining emotional neutrality. Avoidants often return carrying charm, guilt, or apologies designed to elicit a reaction. When you respond from power, you are not swayed by theatrics or attempts to revoke longing or insecurity. You maintain your emotional equilibrium, observing their behavior for what it is without being consumed by it. This allows you to engage with clarity rather than reactivity, to make decisions based on wisdom rather than momentary desire. Your energy remains intact and your dignity remains unshaken. Responding with power also transforms the interaction into a teaching. G moment for both yourself and the other person. It demonstrates what it means to honor boundaries, to uphold standards, and to demand respect. It communicates a principle that love, attention, and connection are not commodities to be taken lightly, but sacred gifts that must be met with integrity. In this way, you are not only protecting yourself, but also reinforcing the divine truth that relati. On-ships require mutual accountability and presence, not fleeting desire or convenience. Finally, responding with power is an act of liberation. It releases you from the pull of past pain, the cycle of chasing, and the temptation to compromise your standards. It elevates you above emotional manipulation, allowing you to step fully into your own life with clarity, confidence, and self-respect. Pow. In this context is not about defeating the other person. It is about winning yourself, your peace, your dignity, and your future. It ensures that your heart remains sacred, your boundaries unbreached, and your energy directed toward what truly serves your growth. When you choose power over desperation, you create a response that resonates far beyond the moment. You are no longer reacting, you are leading your own life. You are no longer dependent. You are sovereign. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's timing or fear. You are anchored in your truth. This is not just a strategy for handling an avoidance return. It is a life principle, a divine practice, and a reflection of the highest version of yourself. It is through this power that you honor your worth, protect your heart, and step boldly into a future where your energy is never compromised and your soul is never diminished. Keeping the focus on yourself when an avoidant returns is one of the most empowering actions you can take. All too often, when someone who left reappears, it becomes easy to shift attention outward to their intentions, their apologies, or their desires. You may find yourself analyzing their behavior, questioning their motives, or even prioritizing their comfort over your own. But the truth is, the only person whose growth, peace, and well-being truly matters in this situation is you. By centering your focus on yourself, you reclaim your energy, honor your heart, and strengthen the foundation of self-respect that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The first step in keeping the focus on yourself is understanding that their return is not about you. It is about them. Avoidants often come back seeking validation, comfort, or familiarity, not necessarily a balanced partnership or emotional investment. If your attention drifts toward trying to meet their needs or rationalize their behavior, you are pulled into their world at the expense of your own. Shifting focus inward means recognizing this truth and reminding yourself that their journey is theirs alone. Your responsibility is not to fix, rescue, or accommodate their patterns. It is to safeguard your heart and cultivate your life in alignment with your values, desires, and purpose. Keeping the focus on yourself also requires self-reflection and self-assessment. This is the time to ask, where am I in my personal growth? What have I learned from past experiences with this person? And how can I apply that wisdom moving forward? What are my non-negotiables? And how will I honor them? When you answer these questions honestly, you build a clarity that no return, apology, or charm can obscure. You shift from being reactive to being deliberate, from being swept away by emotion to being anchored in insight. The focus on why, our self transforms confusion into direction, longing into discernment, and vulnerability into power. Centering your focus also means prioritizing your healing and your growth. This could involve spending time on your passions, investing in your mental and emotional health, or surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you. The energy you devote to your own life strengthens your boundaries and reinforces your self-worth. It is a subtle but powerful signal to anyone who returns that, you are whole, complete, and not dependent on their presence to feel fulfilled. When you are fully immersed in your own journey, attempts to manipulate or tempt you lose their potency because you are no longer available to old patterns that once caused pain. Another aspect of focusing on yourself is cultivating emotional resilience. By remaining attentive to your own needs and priorities, you can process feelings of longing, hurt, or nostalgia without letting them dictate your choices. You observe emotions, acknowledge them, and allow them to exist, but you do not allow them to hijack your decisions. This level of self-awareness creates a buffer between your reactions and external triggers, giving you the freedom to respond intentionally rather than impulsively. You are no longer at the me. That's why of someone else's timing, decisions, or inconsistency. Finally, keeping the focus on yourself transforms the dynamic entirely. It elevates your energy from one of dependency to one of sovereignty, from one of fear to one of confidence, and from one of reaction to one of conscious choice. You become the center of your own universe, not a supporting character in someone else's emotional narrative. This focus allows you to reject what does not serve you with grace, to maintain boundaries without guilt, and to step fully into the life you are meant to create. It is a practice of love. Love for yourself, your time, your energy, and your future. In the end, focusing on yourself is the most profound act of empowerment when dealing with an avoidance return. It ensures that every decision you make, every response you give, and every boundary you enforce is rooted in integrity, clarity, and alignment with your highest good. By turning your gaze inward, you reclaim your power, honor your journey, and create a life that no one else can disrupt, diminish, or dictate. In this focus lies freedom, strength, and the unshakable truth of your worth. When an avoidant comes back into your life, it is easy to view it purely as a disruption or an emotional test. The temptation is to become consumed by what they are doing, why they are doing it, and whether you should allow them back in. Yet there is a far greater perspective available, one that transforms their return from a source of potential pain into a profound opportunity for growth, wisdom, and self-discovery. Each encounter, especially with someone who once left, carries a lesson, a mirror reflecting what you will no longer tolerate and what you truly deserve. When you choose to see their return through this lens, every interaction becomes a sacred teacher rather than a trap. The first lesson their return offers is clarity about your boundaries. Avoidants are often inconsistent, emotionally distant, self-focused. When they reappear, their behavior illuminates the limits of what you will accept in your life. Their actions make it evident which patterns are no longer acceptable and which compromises would undermine your dignity. By paying attention to how they approach you, the choices they make, and the respect, or lack thereof, they show, you gain invaluable insight into the standards you must uphold. This clarity empowers you to enforce boundaries with confidence and without hesitation, turning past pain into present wisdom. Another lesson lies in understanding your emotional triggers. The return of someone who once left can stir feelings of longing, fear, or even guilt. These reactions are not weaknesses, they are signals, indicators of areas within yourself that may still need healing or reinforcement. By observing these emotional responses without judgment, you gain a deeper understanding of your inner world. Learn which aspects of yourself require nurturing, which fears no longer serve you, and which patterns you are determined to break. In this way, their return becomes an invitation to strengthen your emotional resilience and cultivate greater self-awareness. The return of an avoidant also teaches discernment and wisdom in relationships. It presents a real-time test of your ability to recognize authenticity versus convenience, commitment versus avoidance. You are offered the chance to see clearly who respects your heart, who honors your time, and who aligns with your values. Every interaction is a reflection, a divine sign pointing toward what relationships should be and what they should never be. By learning to distinguish these qualities, you cultivate the ability to choose connections that are nourishing, balanced, and aligned with your highest good, instead of repeating cycles of disappointment and heartache. Additionally, their return can teach you the power of self-love and self-prioritization. When you respond with intention and maintain your boundaries, you are actively demonstrating to yourself that your energy, your time, and your emotions are sacred. Every act of restraint. Every deliberate choice to protect your heart and every moment spent focused on your growth reinforces the principle that your life is yours to steward. You are reminded that love is not a transaction, that respect is not negotiable, and that the highest form of power lies in honoring yourself above all else. Finally, their return can serve as a catalyst for gratitude and perspective. It allows you to appreciate how far you have come since the time they left. It reveals your growth, your resilience, and your ability to navigate life with integrity and awareness. By framing their reappearance as a lesson rather than a threat, you transform what could have been a source of anxiety into an opportunity for self-reflection, empowerment, and spiritual growth. Every interaction, no matter how brief or challenging, becomes a stepping stone toward a life rooted in wisdom, self-respect, and divine alignment. In the end, turning an avoidance return into a lesson is not about dwelling on past pain or seeking revenge. It is about reclaiming your power, gaining clarity, and elevating your life. Each moment becomes a mirror, reflecting your worth, your boundaries, and your commitment to growth. The lesson lies not in their return, but in how you respond, with wisdom, with discernment, and with unwavering focus on your own journey. By embracing this perspective, you transform challenge into opportunity, disruption into clarity, and old patterns into a roadmap for a future that honors your heart, your soul, and your highest self. Thank you for trusting me with your journey and your growth. May your heart always honor its worth. Goodbye for now, and may your path be guided by clarity, strength, and unwavering self-respect.